Welcome back to the news at 10. The United Nations has affirmed its support for the ongoing anti-corruption war being prosecuted by the federal government. This was made known today by the country representative of the UN Office on Drugs and Crime. The representative was speaking at an event to mark the 2016 Anti-Corruption Day in Abuja.
It's the 2016 International Anti-Corruption Day, and government officials, students, as well as Nigerians from all walks of life gathered to discuss issues of corruption and how to address it head-on. Statistics from the United Nations Development Programme shows that annually, a total of 1 trillion naira is paid in bribes, while 2.6 trillion are stolen annually through corruption, representing more than 5% of global gross domestic product.
Corruption is a direct threat.
The country representative of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime says this must be curtailed if Nigeria hopes to achieve socio-economic development.
If we do not unite to successfully eliminate corruption, we risk economic growth being slowed and prosperity muzzled. Corruption also corrodes much-needed credibility and trust in the rule of law and criminal justice systems and wastes valuable resources.
The damaging effects of corruption on any nation is said to be enormous. It serves as an impediment to improving the well-being of citizens, undermines democratic institutions, slows economic development, and contributes to government instability. To win the war against corruption in Nigeria, however, experts advise that the fight must be extended to members of the organized private sector.
Change cannot come without the active engagement of the private sector to create a zero-tolerance culture, especially in supply chains. Policies should promote private sector competition, and fees for services should be reasonable and affordable.
Top government officials at the meeting highlighted steps taken so far to reduce corruption.
There are several public engagements, sanctions and enforcement and recovery of proceeds of corruption. The sanction and enforcement mechanism is ensuring that there are no sacred cows.
The 2016 International Anti-Corruption Day has the theme, Corruption, an Impediment to Sustainable Development. Many say sound anti-corruption policies, good governance and legislations are necessary ingredients to curb the menace.
We are able to bring in.
To the environment, the Anambra state government has called on the federal authorities to profile Anambra state as an erosion disaster zone and declare a state of emergency with respect to this environmental challenge. Governor Willie Obiano made this appeal when he received a delegation from the House of Representatives Committee on Erosion and Habitat, led by its chairman, Obinna Chidoka.
As a matter of fact, we requested that it be declared erosion disaster zone and the state of emergency declared on Anambra with respect to erosion. Because we have 962 active erosion sites, very active erosion sites, that if nothing is done, within the next 10 years, Anambra would have lost probably half the size. We used to be the second smallest state in Nigeria, but today we're the smallest state because while Lagos is growing into the Atlantic Ocean, Anambra is shrinking from erosion. And therefore, we did what in Harvard they will call the burning trough effect, to show them that there's danger and that they should do something to enable us to do so. The state cannot handle this alone. I've, on my own, gone to the president 3 times to present this erosion issue. And I believe that with their visit and the various sites they visited, they will enhance this request that we are making.
Let's take a look at some business news now. Here's Emana Amawe.
You first. First Bank.
Hello, welcome to Business News. The federal government is not looking to source any loan from the International Monetary Fund. This clarification is coming from the Ministry of Budget and National Planning in response to reports in some of the nation's dailies to this effect. A statement from the ministry explains that the minister briefed a visiting French delegation in Abuja on what the federal government is doing to drive revenue for its activities, including internal and external options. Mr. Udoma emphasized that with regards to external sourcing of funds, the government would look at institutions that can give loans on concessionary terms. And the Senate will hold a stakeholders' public hearing on trade and investment issues on Tuesday next week. The hearing seeks to repeal the Consumer Protection Act and in its stead establish a new Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, as well as Competition and Consumer Protection Tribunal. In a notice published today, the Senate's public hearing will also push for an act to scrap the Nigerian Export Processing Zone Authority and replace it with a new Nigeria Development and Zones Commission. The public hearing will also look at new measures aimed against trade in counterfeit goods and protection of copyrights and trademarks. Nigeria's equities market ends today's session upbeat by more than 0.25% in response to continuous price increase by industrial majors. Let's join Millicent Nwaka for more on the day's transactions.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. Blue chip equities sustained previous rallies this week, pushing the main index up by 0.31% on Friday as transactions at the Nigeria Stock Exchange market ends in green. The day's performance follows a positive market breadth of 22 gainers, led a second time by 40 Oil, followed by Okumu Oil and Livestock Feeds, while against 14 losers were led by Presco, Avon Crown and UAC Property Development Company. Diamond Bank emerged as the most actively traded stock for the day. Next to it were Transcorp and Access Bank. Overall, a total of 108.52 million shares exchanged hands in over 2,000 deals for over 1.63 billion naira. Well, that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Millicent Nwaka.
Thank you, Millicent. And on the global scene, the U.S. markets continue to hit all-time highs as the Trump rally rages on. For details, here's Jill Maladrino, VOA Channels TV business correspondent in New York.
S&P, Russell 2000, and the transports all traded to new all-time highs for a second day on Thursday. But this time, the NASDAQ joined the party, trading at a new lifetime high as well. The mood can be summed up in one word, and that's euphoria. As market enthusiasm has hit a peak, where buying is chasing more buying. And the main catalyst at this point seems to be investors and portfolio managers are chasing performance into the end of the year, not wanting to miss out. Now, next week's catalyst will be the Federal Reserve interest rate hike decision on December 14th. Traders are pricing in 95% that the Fed will take rates up 25 basis points, according to the CME Group. And why wouldn't they? The Fed has been clear in telegraphing its motive by remaining data dependent. Data is as strong as it has been since the start of the financial crisis. Employment in the states is at full capacity, and corporate earnings seem to have troughed, and we are now on an upswing. Reporting from the NASDAQ market site in Times Square, New York City, I'm Jill Malandrino for VOA Channels TV Business News.
Thank you, Jill. And for the rest of the global markets in Europe, stocks closed higher today as investors digested the European Central Bank's announcement to extend its bond buying program. And in Asia, markets finished mixed as gaming shares tumbled in Hong Kong, and South Korea's main index ended down before Parliament voted to impeach President Park Geun-hye over an influence peddling scandal. And that's Business News Tonight. I'm Emana Amawe. It's back to Ijoma. Now, 5,635 workers of the Federal Civil Service are to benefit from a 13 billion naira mortgage refinancing scheme. And this was made known today by the Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun. She notes that the initiative aims to address the housing deficit in the country and ensure civil servants can afford to own their own homes, especially after retirement. The government is being partnered by SunTrust Bank Nigeria Limited to finance this scheme.
Out of the 400 million units estimated housing deficit globally, Nigeria accounts for about 17 million, and this estimate is based on statistics provided 4 years ago by the National Bureau of Statistics. Today, more than 5 cities in Nigeria, including Ibadan, Benin and Port Harcourt, have over 5 million in population, many of them lacking adequate housing. This 13 billion naira mortgage loan refinancing scheme, launched by the government in conjunction with the Federal Staff Housing Loan Board, is targeted at affordable housing for the civil servants.
Today we are proud to announce the scheme for the refinancing of mortgages for 5,635 beneficiaries of the Federal Civil Service by the Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company.
Our mission is to bring down the barriers that prevent home ownership by really providing the liquidity that is required, by making home ownership more affordable, more accessible, and making really the housing market more stable.
The managing director of SunTrust Bank Nigeria Limited, the financial institution backing the mortgage refinancing scheme by the Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company, says it took 4 years to achieve this feat.
This is a very long journey that we started 4 years ago, working with the Federal Government Staff Housing Loans Board. They have a pool of mortgages worth over 5,600 mortgages, and we thought that it is important for us to pull it together and in a vehicle and issue the first mortgage-backed security in the country, such that we'll be able to sell those mortgages in the capital market, and as such be able to generate the necessary liquidity for them to be able to refinance, to create more mortgages.
SunTrust Limited started in 2010 as a mortgage bank until September 2015, when it became commercialized following its licensing by the Central Bank of Nigeria. With its regional banking license, the chief executive officer of the bank says they will offer financial technology to Nigerian customers, focusing on electronic channels through telephone, mobile and internet banking services that will change the game of banking in Nigeria. Omelogo Nadi Channels Television News.
Next on the news at 10, Richard McLaren's second WADA report implicates over 1,000 Russian athletes in alleged state-sponsored doping. And that's on sports. Please stay with us.